Hello, my name is Jordy. I'm going to be talking about how to give a speech. Uh, this is this is my outline. I'm going to be talking about first iconography, definitions, quotes, lists, and a critical factor for success. Um, I will be jumping around from one slide to the next and to the previous one because I do like to backtrack on the things that I've displayed on my presentations. That's my way of doing things. That's also why I put first the iconography because to me it is very important that I'm able to just look at one image and already know what that image is about. Like here, for example, here I have social work and an elderly person's hand. So I can talk about the diversity of different lifestyles that elderly people have and the perks and the cons, also different types of elderly people, and how some of them can be affected. But I'm not going to go through on that yet because right now the presentation is about how to give a speech. So that's the other thing that I'm going to be talking about. Critical factors for success. Um, for me, I would give a tip. That's a very important tip for me. It's to always rest before giving a speech because when you're not rested, uh, you tend to lose track on your breath. You tend to lose track on what words you're going to use, and a lot of times I personally forget about adjectives. So, uh, so resting and practicing before giving your speech or coming in early helps in controlling yourself when it's time to go and give the speech. Now, that's for critical factors for success. I'm going to go to definitions. Here, for example, here I have a small definition. It's about process approach, but I'm not going to read it out loud because when talking about presentations, when giving a presentation, you don't want the other people to look at you read. Okay, they can read it by themselves. What's important here is that by looking at the iconography, I can see that there are three people holding hands and a statistical arrow going up. So with that, I can already tell that it's about business, that it's going to be about profit, and that it's going to be about a group effort. Group effort also gets translated to effectiveness, and this is when I look at the definition, and I start just looking for just a couple of keywords, just to keep me in track. So the word is process approach, and we're talking about business management, strategic plans, company, great dynamism, and a market and new technologies. Now, technologies is a word that we can also put the definition there, but we're not going to because that's one that I already know. Technologies doesn't really mean cell phone, doesn't mean lamps, it doesn't mean internet. Technologies is the technique that you may have. So when we are in a social work, for example, when we're in a social work ambient, techniques refers to that, like the technologies refers to that, the different techniques and how you're able to use them. Like what's it called? Like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. These are social websites or social networks. When talking about social work, when you talk about social networks, you don't refer to Facebook. You refer to the different contacts you may have when writing a report. Now, that's it with definitions and iconography. Now we can go to quotes and lists. Here, when giving a quote, I don't like to read out the quote. What's more important for me is so that the public can know where I got the quote from or who it is from. So here I have Neil Armstrong. Neil Armstrong is a teacher from MIT. I know him as it's not like I met him, but Neil Armstrong does have a lot of videos about debates in YouTube in the channel of Humane Studies, and he's the type of presenter or teacher that likes to give the negative facts before the good ones and weigh in the negative and the good in most of his speeches. The quote I got from him was about the minimum wage, and here he's talking about how to convince somebody that the minimum wage isn't enough. That for the minimum wage to be raised to $15, it's not really going to stop poverty. For that you would need a different politic. Uh, so here I can already tell that what's important from him, that he works in the Department of Economics in the University of California, Irvine, uh, and that he likes to focus in broader groups. When he talks about the minimum wage, he went straight to the black market. I really like that because not a lot of people talk about the black market, and the black market, it's in this country specifically, really, because not other countries, like not in Spain, not in France, not in Ecuador, not in Colombia. They don't really talk about the black market that much. Not because it's black and bad or illegal, but because they don't have as many immigrants as the U.S. has. So when Neil Armstrong was talking about the minimum wage and how that will affect the black market, he was talking about how there will be more a rise on the black market, and how a lot of immigrants, which is actually a very high percentage here in the U.S., will be working in a non-legal way, which will mean more jobs for younger people. But then will come the machine, and here I'm going on a tangent. So I'm going to go back to my outline and see that the next step here is lists. Now, lists. For me, it's very important to have it clear, white background so everybody can see it. Here I have a pros and cons list about process approach versus functional approach. I can just take one or two words and I can already know what to say. Like process approach horizontal, functional approach vertical. With this, you can also add in a quote, add in a definition, and go from there. Now, another thing that really helps you, and that I would add to my critical factor for success, is a story. Everybody likes to hear a story. So if you can if you can bring a story to your presentation, a really quick one, a really short one, a written story, because when you go to stories, it's very easy for you to go to tangents and end up wasting 5 to 10 minutes and lose people. So bring in a story about a person that you may know that relates to the subject. Another thing that I would really recommend is having somebody that you know in the audience. That way, if you need a little bit of valor, if you need a little bit of a cheerleader, then you can just look at him and be more relieved. Like, hey, I know him. Here's an example. Now, now, if you're nervous, never talk about you being nervous, because that's going to make the audience nervous. Like, they're going to remember when they were nervous, when they were giving a presentation, and that's going to distract these people from your presentation. So I would reserve. So I would not talk about me being nervous to the people that are listening to my presentation. I would also pace my breath, and I would also just keep on a little bit of humor in my presentations. Like, for example, here it says hospital, no law of communication. In Latin America, it's very commonly known that there's a lot of politicians that steal a lot of the money. And hey, if it's already a third world country, then that's not going to be any difference if you throw in $3 million or not to a program. So they do keep a lot of control in what the TV says, in what the radio says. And that also brings me to another critical factor of success, not for the politicians, but for when you're giving a speech. When you're giving a speech, also do keep in mind the interest of the people that are listening to your presentation. Because I really like it when in my speech class, my teacher talks about how she likes the food from third world countries or other places that are not in America. Or, well, she actually likes the food in America too, but she like that culinary attention that she gives to everybody. I really like it. It's something that really takes take the stress down from everybody, and it's something that's really memorable. It's going to be really memorable because we're all looking forward to the next time when we eat. So that would be my the end of my critical factors for success list. And thank you very much for listening to me.